Welcome back for the second portion of Joy in Our Town. Thank you for joining us once again. I'm your host, AC Dunlap, and our guest for this segment is Lori Williams, founder of Vows of Esther. She joins us today to discuss empowerment for young women in Central Ohio, along with the importance of young women knowing their value and worth. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Can you talk to us a little bit about your history in the Vows of Esther?
It's just a program that I basically do throughout my salon, and we pretty much empower women from behind the chair.
Okay.
And what we do is, we offer free complimentary services to young ladies who, can't afford to get their hair done and different things like that. And as they come and get their hair done, we try to talk to them and encourage them, to build their self-esteem.
Okay. So what was the motivation kind of behind Vows of Esther?
Well, when I was a little girl, I really had a lot of self-esteem issues as far as like my complexion, and I was teased and I was called different names, anything to do with dark skin, I was called that. And my mother, her being Mother Esther Sanders, being, the first lady of the Victory Deliverance Church, she had an organization where she, brought young women in. Some came off the street, some, had substance abuse problems, and she brought them in, and she would have groups for these girls. And what she would do was, she would take them under her wings and encourage them and teach them self-respect. And, she would take them to department stores, buy them outfits, and, take them to get their hair done. And it really, empowered these young ladies. I just seen a change in them. So that was my, motivation for doing this program.
So how long has the program been in existence?
Well, we have actually been doing it for about 5 years. When my mother passed away 3 years ago, I went through a really, really dark place. I mean, the lowest of the low. And I really didn't know how to cope. I was angry. I went back into a depression. And again, my self-esteem, I just started losing because I was so used to having my mother with me. I was used to having her there for anything I needed. Yeah. And when she passed away, I just wanted to honor her some type of way. And I always remember her telling me to, when God give you gifts to bless other people, be a blessing to other people. Yeah. So that's what really made me want to do it.
How do you feel that making someone feel good about themselves empowers them?
Well, for one, when you look good, you automatically feel good. Right. And, being in the beauty industry, I see so much, I see the good and the bad, I see the ugly, I see, everything, and I just feel like when a woman feels good about herself, no one could tell her anything else. Sometimes when you're feeling down and depressed and you just go to the salon and get your hair done, automatically your whole spirit change. We turn around in the chair and, sometimes they even cry like, oh my God, I can't believe I look like this. It's just amazing to see the smile that's on their face.
So how do you feel that something like that impacts the value or the worth of a young girl?
With everything going on in today's society, a lot of women don't even take time out for themselves. We have children, we working, and we doing, we taking care of everyone else. Yeah. And sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves. Yeah. So I believe that, by even taking just a little bit of time out for yourself, that empowers you to, to do better. And even with your own children, I have 2 twin girls, and, they look up to me, and, and everything I do, they mock me. I'm in the mirror doing makeup. They trying to do their makeup. I'm doing my hair. They doing their hair. So I believe that just makes them feel good and feel like a woman.
So why do you feel that it's important for a young woman to be empowered?
Well, my father, Apostle Fred Sanders, he preached a series of messages years ago, like back in the 80s, and it was entitled, Don't Be a Silly Woman. And he came out of 2 Timothy 3:6, I believe. And basically, I believe it's so important to empower young women because even though we may stray away, we may do things that we're not supposed to do, that we know that's not pleasing to God, we never forget. And, even with him preaching those series of sermons, I've never forgotten that. Being a young girl, and that's why I believe that we have to teach them while they're young. So when they get older, they really won't depart from that.
So do you think that there is a difference between a young man being empowered and a young woman? And if so, why?
Well, I don't say it's a difference, but I could say for women that we have come a long way. I mean, we have a woman running for president.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
so I believe it's, not that it's more important, but I think it's just as important because women, we wear so many hats sometimes. I mean, we don't like to say it, but sometimes we, play the role of a mother and a father.
Yeah.
And I think it's, just as important or even more important.
That's a good piece. Do you come across young women who maybe have been in the same situations that you have been in, and what do you say to them?
Yes, I do. I have experienced a lot of, I could tell so many stories, but one in particular, it was a young lady. I seen her, I guess they were walking her from school, and there was a group of young girls. They were just taunting her and teasing her. And, for a moment, I wanted to say something, but then I got scared because these kids now, you know how that is.
Yeah.
So something said, just talk to her. So as I seen that the, situation kind of de-escalated, I went and talked to her. And, I asked her what seemed to be the problem, what's going on. And she was just saying how she just, was tired of people talking about her and picking at her and talking about her clothes and her hair. And she thought she was ugly. She didn't want to go back to school. She actually wanted to kill herself. And, and I began to talk to her and tell her how, I had the same issues, and she just couldn't believe it. Like, well, look at you, you have this and you have that, and they don't understand that we go through the same thing, and I was basically letting her know I am you, and you could be anything you want to be. You don't have to, worry about what people say, because people are going to always have something to say about you. And a lot of times hurt people hurt people. So, and I tried to explain to her that a lot of times these young ladies are bothering you because they have issues that they're dealing with themselves.
You talked a little bit about your program and that you all address empowerment from a beauty standpoint. Are there any other things that you do to encourage empowerment in young ladies?
Yes, we do. A lot of times what we do, a lot of things are one-on-one, but we do have groups. Sometimes we meet at library, local restaurants, and different things like that, and we come together and we just talk. We basically want to hear these young ladies out, because there's so many different challenges that they're facing that we didn't have to go through. There's so many more things that they're facing, and what we do, we just really talk about beauty starting from the inside, because you could be as pretty as you want to be on the outside, but if your inside is ugly, you're ugly, period. So we just try to teach them to respect themselves, value themselves, and love themselves.
Why do you feel that so many young women are challenged with finding their identity or finding who they are?
Well, for one, you have so many things. You have social media, you have the movies, you have the music videos, you have the magazines, and women are literally killing themselves trying to look like someone that they're not, someone they're never going to be, or just trying to, just be a different person. And a lot of times, we just tell them for the Vows of Esther program, we just really tell them to love yourself and be you. There's nothing wrong with improving yourself. We always talk about improvement. But, there's a thin line from improving yourself and just going overboard and trying to do things that's, detrimental to your health.
You talked about the conception of Vows of Esther. Where did the name come from?
Esther Sanders, that's my mother. And the name came from, my mother used to, she used to testify in church, and, my mother was really, she was second to none. I'm not just saying that because she's my mother, but my mother was a praying woman. She was a woman that, believed in the word of God so until some would think she was crazy, and she used to say something that I made a vow to the Lord and I would never take it back. And so when she passed away, I was thinking like, I don't know what to name it, but then that came to me. So that's how it became the name Vows of Esther.
Yours is kind of non-traditional. So why do you think programs are so important?
I think it's so important because, for one, a lot of young ladies are not able to afford certain things. It's easy to say, oh, just go to school and just go the way you are. But it's hard to say that when you go into school and some of the other young ladies, have nice clothes, their hair done, wearing the latest styles, and then you go and, you feel like, well, why can't I look like that? And not to say that that makes you a better person, but what we do is we try to help the ones that cannot afford it, because some people just cannot afford to get their hair done. And some people don't even know how to do it. So in them coming, we not only just do their hair, but we teach them how to take care of themselves.
That's good.
Even cleanliness, just hygiene, everything, all the way around. We just, we try to really encourage them to take care of themselves as young ladies.
And that's good because that's empowering them, not just
Yes.
doing it for them, but definitely empowering them.
Yes.
Now, do you work with other organizations or partner with community organizations in Columbus?
Yes, we do work with some of the local shelters. Some of the members on my design team work with drug treatment centers.
Okay.
A lot of times those women are just coming from substance abuse, and they're going into the workplace, and they don't want to go to an interview with their hair standing on top of their head and not knowing how to, and even some of the women go to court trying to get their children back. And, we try to get them ready, prepared for court, how to look, the etiquette, everything. So those are some of the organizations. Also with the Victory Deliverance Church, we partner with them, the Total Deliverance Ministries, anything even some of the other nonprofit organizations, a lot of the beauty supply stores, they donate things to us, some of the department stores. So we pretty much, everything we do is in the community.
Okay. Is there an age bracket that people have to fall into to be able to get services through you?
No, there's actually not an age bracket. Just during the times of back to school, we service young girls K through 12.
Okay.
And, that's the time just for them. But throughout the year, it doesn't matter the age, we just want to help women in general.
So how do you decipher as far as somebody that's in need? I mean, can somebody just come and say, I need services? Or, is there a certain procedure that they have to go through?
We ask people to simply fill out a form. And we pretty much hope that everyone is honest because, there's a lot of, some of our clients, they say when it's a free back to school day, we're not going to send our kids because we can afford to get our kids done. We just want people who cannot afford. So we just trust and hope and pray that the people who really need it are the ones that's coming.
So since you've started the program, what do you feel has been the impact from a community standpoint?
Well, like last year when we did the back to school, we had really good feedback. We had Channel 610, we had a really big news coverage. And I really believe that, even some of the students have even came back, and just said how they went to school and how the young people say, oh, my hair was on fleek. And, they really felt good about themselves.
Right.
So I know that, it helped them. And let them know that someone cares, It's not always about money. It's not always about that because these are talents that God gave us. Yeah. And we just want to, share it with other people.
And so same question, but from you personally, because you talked about that this was kind of a almost a healing piece as far as when your mother passed. So what has the program done for you?
Well, that's a good question. I could say that, like I said before, when my mother passed, it was so hard for me, even in ministry. I'm a minister of music at my father's church, Apostle Sanders. And it was so hard for me to even go back into the church for a while. I was upset with God. I didn't understand, like, this lady is so awesome. Why did she pass? Why did she go through this? And I could say that, I just learned that through it all, I learned to trust in God. I became closer. I didn't lean so much on my parents. This was a time for me to learn and know God for myself. And, during this, I really felt like it was a healing. It healed me because I was able to, help other people through her death. I didn't want her legacy to die. So many people, they passed away and, we say, oh, I remember this and I remember that, but there's no work there. So that was something that's, and it's not that I'm healed, but it's helping along the way.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate you sharing your time. That is our program for today. Thank you so much for watching. You can also check us out on Facebook at WSFJ TV 51. Join us again next week at the same time for Joy in Our Town.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and is made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town coming to your home every week. Write to Joy in Our Town, 7790 North Central Drive, Lewis Center, Ohio, 43035.